The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Well, springtime.
Felt like it today at 59 degrees.
It's nice that daylight saving time is over with, isn't it?
Yes.
It's staying a little bit lighter out, a little bit longer.
Yeah, almost 7 o'clock the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the weather doesn't feel any different. We're still getting snow here and there. It's still pretty cold.
Yeah.
But I noticed the groundhog was out today.
Doing his little groundhoggy things.
Yeah, he was out looking around, sniffing the grass, checking out the scenery. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And the geese are coming back in flocks. And we saw 2 bald eagles.
We did. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. We were looking out towards the river, and there was one bald eagle sitting way up on top of the tree. And then by the time I called Beth in, there were 2.
Yeah, we grabbed the binoculars and watched him for a while.
And he was getting bitched out.
He was. The other one, which we're assuming was a female, at one point just opened her mouth and she was like, rah, 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 right in his face. It was pretty awesome.
It was quite the sight to see. I wonder what he did.
I don't know.
Maybe he was checking out a crow or a seagull or something.
Oh, yeah.
He just was not into it.
Yeah. Could be.
Well, we're going to get right into this because I've got the feeling I'm going to lose my voice.
Yep.
So Beth's going to start us off, as always.
Not always, just as usual. Sometimes we mix it up and you go first.
Ladies before whatever I am.
A hot mess.
I am definitely a mess.
All right. Well, I'm going to get us into fantasy cabin land for a second here.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
I know. So, for many of us, myself included, there's that fantasy that one day we might have a little cabin out in the middle of nowhere where we can hide away from the rest of the world and read books, sleep under a half dozen blankets, and just be alone in nature. My cabin, my fantasy cabin, is on a lake somewhere in the Adirondacks with a nice little fire in the fireplace, coffee brewing on the stove, and sunlight dancing off the water through a big picture window. You'd be with me, of course. And we'd spend our days outside and our nights comfy and cozy with nobody to bother us unless we invite them into our little slice of heaven. It's been a fantasy of mine, this cabin, for a pretty long time. And I think with you being sick for several weeks now and me thinking about retirement more and more, although it's a horribly long way off, I've been thinking about that cabin a lot more.
Well, by the time you retire, I'm going to need wheelchair accessible because you've got a ways yet to catch up to my retirement.
I know. And that's the great thing about this fantasy cabin, right, is that I don't even have to consider the reality of having to chop wood and haul groceries from the nearest grocery store, which will be like 50 or 60 miles away, and that we'd need to fix everything ourselves that breaks down. But if the fantasy and the reality sounds wonderful to you, our dear listeners, there is the perfect cabin out there for you, and I think I've found it. First, it's really out there in the middle of nowhere. It's on an island off the coast of Iceland, but not just any island, Elethea Island. Covered in lush green grass, the stunning landscape looks like something out of a Lord of the Rings movie or a Game of Thrones episode. It's just this 110-acre jagged bowl of green sticking up out of the ocean. Its sheer cliffs dropping 404 feet straight down into the North Atlantic. There isn't a single tree, just nothing but short green grass stretching across the flat yet incredibly sloping earth that reaches up and up into a peak that tops out at 475 feet above sea level. There's a reason it looks like the top of a long dormant volcano, because it is. Until the 1930s, there were 5 families inhabiting the island. They would graze their cattle and sheep. But today, there isn't a single soul on the entire thing. And yet, perched in the very center, is a pristine 2-story white cabin with a black tile roof. It stands like a sentinel against the battering wind. It's so striking against the blue ocean and green grass that, to be honest, it looks like it's been photoshopped. In fact, there were rumors online that it was photoshopped into this impossible landscape. But it's not. It happens to be very real, and it's known as the loneliest house in the world. In fact, if you were to go there right now, the only other living creatures you might come across are the hundreds of thousands of puffins that migrate there. And getting there can be quite the adventure. First, you have to take a ferry from Iceland to the nearest inhabited island. Then you have to get somebody to take you by boat to Elethea. This is not as lovely as it sounds, due to the rough seas, endless fog, and unrelenting wind. Then, once you get to Elethea, you have to climb the steep cliff face to get to the actual house, hauling all of your supplies up the cliff with you. Once you make it to the cabin, or lodge as it's known by, you need to prepare yourself for the fact that it has no water except what's gathered in rain barrels, and no power except what's generated by propane gas. Other than that, it's quite lovely, although a bit rustic. But considering the entire thing was built piece by piece from supplies hauled up that 404-foot cliffside, you can't really knock it for being a bit rustic.
You think that they would have somebody do airdrops by helicopter.
Oh, well, it was built in the 1950s, so I don't know if they would have had the resources, the club that built it.
Well, even to this day, if you were to live there.
Right.
I mean, hell, maybe even Amazon has the little drones that go there and drop you off supplies so you could have fresh water.
Right. Well, according to allthat'sinteresting.com, The lodge, which is also called Ball House, has a small kitchen, a bathroom, and a living room. There is a bunk room on the second floor, and of course, there's a sauna. Believe it or not, over 11,000 people have visited the loneliest house in the world, or at least that's how many have signed the guest book. But for years, people wondered who built it and why. And the rumors were pretty inventive. First, there's the rumor that I already mentioned, that the house doesn't actually exist at all and it's just photoshopped. Well, we've already established that that isn't the case. But then there was the rumor that the house was built by an eccentric billionaire survivalist who wanted a place to hide during the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I can see that.
People actually believe that. I'm not joking.
Oh, there are people that actually believe in the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
Not to knock any of those people.
Right.
Hey, you never know.
But you're stuck out in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. Like, how are you going to... I guess you can get fish and rain from the rain barrels, but...
If you're a billionaire,
well,
you can get anything you want.
Not if everybody else is dead from the zombies.
Well, you could always fly your chopper out to the mainland and pick up groceries at the vacant grocery stores, I guess. Zombies aren't eating bread and milk and butter. Well, that stuff would spoil.
Right. I'm saying
cereal wouldn't.
There's holes in your plan.
There's some holes because I haven't thought it out because I've never been worried about the zombie apocalypse.
Right. Well, there was also the rumor that it was the hideout for some sort of cult, which is also not true. The latest rumor is that the loneliest house in the world belongs to Björk, the singer who once famously wore a white dress that looked like somebody had stitched a bunch of tutus together on the bottom and draped a stuffed animal swan across the top and around her shoulder. But Björk was always quirky. For those of you that don't know who she was, or is, she was the Lady Gaga way before Lady Gaga. And to be honest, I always liked Björk. I liked her music. But anyway, the rumor that she actually owned the loneliest house in the world was based in some fact, although it was misunderstood fact. Back in 2000, Iceland's prime minister offered to give Björk her own island as a way to honor her contributions to the country. He offered Elithea Island, but what a lot of people didn't realize is that there are 2 islands by that name off the coast of Iceland. He was referring to the other one. And anyway, Björk turned it down. The truth of the loneliest house in the world origin isn't all that exciting. It was built in 1953 by the Elithea Hunting Association as a hunting lodge. Remember those 100,000 puffins that I said are the only living creatures on the island? Well, it's not illegal in Iceland to hunt them, and Elithea Island was the perfect spot to set up camp. So, if the white cabin on the volcanic paradise sounds like, well, paradise to you, you can go visit it, but you do need permission from the Hunting Association in order to do so. Now, if a cabin in the middle of the Atlantic doesn't sound all that appealing to you, there's always Casa do Penedo in the Fife Mountains of northern Portugal. It's just as stunning as the Icelandic cabin, but for an entirely different reason. Translated into English, Casa do Penedo means stone house or boulder house, but that doesn't do this home justice at all. It's not just a house made out of stones or large rocks. It's literally 4 massive boulders that make up its foundation, walls, and roof. But even that description doesn't do it justice. Just picture Fred Flintstone's house on the Flintstones television show. And hopefully you're old enough to get that reference. Okay, so picture Fred Flintstone's house. You got it? Now imagine exactly that, only 2 stories tall. And the boulders making up the 2 sidewalls are so massive that they extend beyond the 2nd story. That's the stone house of Portugal. It was built by a Portuguese engineer in 1974 as a summer retreat for his family. And its location was chosen because of the landscape and the gorgeous views. He wanted a place where he and his family could truly get away from it all. But he also wanted his home to blend in seamlessly with the landscape. So he used the landscape to build it. The 4 boulders, each 2 stories tall, make up the outer walls and the ceiling, as I'd mentioned before. According to ancientorigins.com, the rest of the house is built from stone and eucalyptus wood. It has glass windows and a metal door. Each of the rooms inside are odd shapes, since they are shaped with the contours of the rocks. There's a fireplace for heat, but there isn't any direct electricity, despite it being relatively close to a wind farm. So I'm not sure exactly how they get their electricity, but there are ceiling lamps, so they're getting it from somewhere. According to Portugal.com, the first floor, which is just 60 feet by 10 feet, has a rustic kitchen and a small living room with a built-in concrete sofa that weighs 800 pounds. A eucalyptus wood staircase leads to the sleeping quarters on the 2nd floor. Online pictures show 2 double beds in one of the upstairs bedrooms. The engineer and his family did add a swimming pool, also carved out of a massive stone. The Flintstone house, as it's known online, was also accused of being nothing more than a photoshopped image. But like the loneliest house in the world, it is real. And as it gained traction online, it also gained tourism. A lot of tourism. To the point where the current owner and his family decided they had no choice but to move out and turn it into a museum. And then, unfortunately, many of the visitors were destructive. Ancient Origins notes that the windows had been broken out of the stone house by vandals and replaced 20 times in the last 2 decades. So now the glass in the windows is bulletproof and encased in steel bars. The metal door was replaced by a bulletproof steel door. 'Cause people are jerks. These measures seem to have made a big difference. And if the Flintstone house sounds like the perfect getaway to you, you can go visit, although you can't rent it out anymore. Which makes it kind of like my Adirondack cabin fantasy. It exists out there, but for right now, I just live in it in my head.
How sad is that?
People we know who have cabins, they say they're going out to camp or they're going out to their cabin in this area. They're so lucky.
Well, yeah, but most of these cabins have been in families for quite a long time. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they weren't going for all that much.
Yeah, I know.
You can't touch any of them now because,
they're $500,000 now.
Easily.
Yeah.
You're lucky if just the piece of land isn't $500,000.
I know.
It's sad.
So all you people out there with your cabins and your camps, I'm jealous of you. But good for you. I'm glad you have a nice place to go and create memories with your families.
And you know what? That's why all my fantasies are something that I know I can act upon without money.
No idea where you were going with that. I was sitting over here holding my breath, going, what's he going to say that we're going to have to edit out anyway? But you did good, honey.
Yeah, you can't imagine the amount of stuff I have to edit out after these things. Because my wife goes, you can't leave that in.
It's funny, but no, take that out.
You're such a school teacher.
I'm a nice girl.
Yeah, you are.
Right.
You're a nice girl.
Anyway, we will be right back after this quick break. Hey, did you know? Silly Putty and Play-Doh have both been around since the 1950s, and neither one was meant for children. While Play-Doh was originally marketed as a wallpaper cleaner, Silly Putty was invented by accident during one chemist's attempt at making a substance similar to rubber, which explains why Play-Doh comes in its iconic plastic can. But why the red egg for Silly Putty? Because it was first sold at Easter and the packaging just never changed. Play-Doh gained popularity from the Captain Kangaroo television show and comes in 50 different colors today. Over 300 billion cans of the stuff have been sold since 1956, which would reach the moon and back 3 times. Interestingly, a can of Play-Doh in 1956 cost 84 cents, not much less than it costs today. But Silly Putty, on the other hand, costs the exact same amount today as it did when it debuted in 1950, just $1. You just get a lot less of it in that little plastic egg these days. Who'd have thunk it?
All right, we are back from the break, and we've given you sin eaters, grooms of the stool, rat catchers, and plague doctors. And tonight, I'm adding one more to the list of the worst jobs in history. Toshers. In Victorian England, Toshers were typically immigrants or impoverished citizens. They dressed in long velveteen coats with deep pockets and canvas trousers, which were usually very dirty. They also wore canvas aprons and a dark lantern slung across their chests that would swing out when they bent over to illuminate the ground. Generally, their shoes were in terrible condition. They always carried 2 tools of the trade, a canvas sack slung over their backs, and a 7 or 8 foot pole that they carried in their left hand. It ended in a large iron hoe. The hoe served several purposes. First, it could save their lives. But second, they could use it to dig out whatever they were looking for. Their job, by the way, was illegal. Have you figured out what their job was yet?
Were they digging for clams?
Well, I could see where a hoe might dig for a clam, but no.
You've known a lot of hoes that just dig by themselves without any people holding on to them to maneuver them?
I think a lot of hoes dig at their clams. All right. Well, I'll give you all a hint. The 7 or 8 foot long hoe could save their lives if they got stuck in human waste and they couldn't lift their feet.
So they were sewer workers?
No. They'd use the hoe to find what they were looking for. So in the 1840s and 1850s, London was suffering from a cholera epidemic. Since most of the population didn't have flush toilets, the Thames was basically their sewer, and the streets weren't much better. When temps soared in 1858, London found itself in the middle of the Great Stink, a horrible stench caused by raw sewage in the river and on their streets. So in 1859, a sewer system was designed, with egg-shaped tunnels that were just 3 feet, 9 inches high. It took almost 20 years to build, brick by brick, but eventually it covered almost 1,300 miles. Toshers were men who broke into London's miles of sewer at low tide and searched through all the human waste for bones, rope, metal, silver utensils, and if they were lucky, jewelry and money. They'd collect it in their canvas sacks, bring it home, wash it off, and then they'd sell it. And all of this was illegal, of course.
That's just what you want, is to buy a necklace that, was washed off in a Toshers well, and it had just come out of the sewer.
Well, I really don't think it's any different than going out metal detecting and digging up something out of the ground.
It's a little different.
Really? So you were to tell me if we were walking over here by the sewer plant and you just happened to find a really nice diamond ring sitting in some duck poop or something, you wouldn't clean it off and, wear it?
Well,
my point exactly.
Well, no, I wouldn't go over to the vats of, poop water that are at the sewage treatment plant and fish around in it looking for things. But yeah, if I found something in duck poop, I might pick it up with a Kleenex and then douse it with a gazillion gallons of, Clorox. And then every time I wore it, I'd think, oh, this is my duck poop ring or my duck poop necklace.
Well, I'll tell you what. Whether it was a sewer or not, if I thought there were gold jewelry in it, I'd do it.
Okay.
It's free. It's just your time.
And, it's illegal, but whatever.
Well, next ring I give you.
I'll be sniffing it all the time.
That's right.
This smells like Clorox. I wonder why.
So back to where my wife rudely interrupted me. It was against the law to enter the sewer system without permission, and there was a £5 reward for anyone who informed the police of Tosher activity. But if you were good at it, you could make as much as £35 a day, which was way more than any other skilled laborer made at that time. In today's money, that would be about $50 a day. So it was worth it for a lot of men, and it's estimated that there were about 200 Toshers in the city at any given time. According to Smithsonian.com, most Toshers worked in groups of 3 or 4 and had a master Tosher with them. The master Tosher was usually between the ages of 60 and 80. If you were good, you'd find the best locations to search, usually where there were small cracks, because that's where the most lost coins would get stuck. They'd start by shoving their arms down into the sewer water, as deep as their elbows, and feel around for anything hard. They'd close their fist around it and bring it up. Then they would use their other hand to sift through their fist of human waste and dirty water to see if they'd scored anything good. At times, they'd also use fishing nets to sift through the human waste.
Well, that's better, as it drips down on your shoes.
Now, to be fair, Toshers didn't work just the sewers. They also would scan the banks of the Thames at low tide, or go through the ashes of burned down houses. But since what they were doing was illegal, the sewers were the safest place for not getting caught. And they definitely didn't want to get caught, since they could be fined huge amounts of money and have their tools taken away.
They take their hoe?
Yes, dear. They'd take their hoe. But they could also be sentenced to prison time, where they'd most likely be put on the crank or treadwell as a punishment. So, in addition to sticking to the sewers at night, they also never used their real names. Toshers were known by their nicknames like Lanky Bill, Long Tom, One-Eyed George, or One-Armed Jack. So as you can imagine, doing a Tosher's job was extremely dangerous, which is why they typically worked in groups. According to vocal media history, there were several things that could kill you. First, there was the possibility of drowning in the muck, which could sometimes suck them down like quicksand. In this case, they'd use that 8-foot-long hoe to try and lever themselves out of a sticky situation. But if they couldn't pry themselves out of the muck and high tide came in, they could definitely drown. Or if they timed it wrong and a sluice gate opened while they were in the 3-foot-high tunnels, they could drown that way also. There was also the possibility of getting lost or being overcome by pockets of toxic fumes, like hydrogen sulfide, which over long periods of time could cause pneumonia and respiratory failure. Some of the tunnels had been attached to already existing Roman-era tunnels, which could easily collapse on top of them. But an even bigger issue was the sewer rats. They were huge and mean. They were known to gang up on a single man by the dozens and attack him, biting and tearing until he died, pinned against the sewer walls. A reporter and author named Henry Mayhew reported that one man had been found in the sewer, eaten down to his bones by rats. Even a single bite could result in meningitis. And if the sewer rats didn't get you, the sewer pigs might.
The what?
The sewer pigs.
Sewer pigs?
The sewer pigs.
The more you say sewer, the less it sounds like sewer.
It was sewer.
Pigs.
Sewer pigs.
Huh.
Sewer pigs were a breed of black-furred feral hog, rumored to have been spawned by a single sow who had somehow fallen into the sewer. These sewer pigs fed on the garbage and waste in the sewers, which made them aggressive and terrifying. They had black fur and were abnormally large, and they seemed to multiply in the hundreds. Toshers claimed that you could be working steadily along the tunnels under Hampstead when, without any warning, a massive sewer pig would come hurtling towards you, ready to attack. Today, historians say that the likelihood of Victorian sewer pigs is as likely as alligators in the sewers of New York City. So it was probably just an urban legend.
Oh, good.
But the rats were definitely real.
I believe that.
And an even more widely believed rumor was known by all the Toshers: the queen rat.
Why are you looking at me like that? It's like you expected me to say something, but I was so enthralled, I have nothing to say.
So, according to a Smithsonian Magazine article, the queen rat looked like any other sewer rat. She would choose a Tosher and follow him around as he did his job, searching the waste for bits and baubles to sell. But at just the right moment, she would transform into a very attractive and seductive woman. She would corner the Tosher and make her move. If the Tosher went along with it and pleasured her, she would reward him with good luck. He'd be sure to find riches beyond his imagination. Going along with it also included a bite on the neck. The queen rat would mark the man so that all the other rats knew not to mess with him.
How nice of her.
I know. But if he commented on the strange way her eyes glowed in the dark like an animal, or asked about her rat-like toes, she would curse him. Not long after his encounter, he would surely drown.
Wow.
You don't want to piss her off.
No, she's sensitive about her rat toes.
That's one hoe you want to pleasure for sure.
She's a rat queen. You need to be respectful of the rat aristocracy.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't go very well. Now, the thing is a queen rat could find a Tosher anywhere, not just in the stores. She might find him out in the street or even in a pub.
Huh.
One Tosher, named Jerry Sweetly, had a horrifying encounter with a queen rat, which was published in a book 100 years later after his death. According to family legend, Sweetly met a beautiful girl in a pub. Even though he recognized her for the supernatural creature she truly was, he drank with her until midnight and then brought her to a dance. Afterwards, the girl insisted on bringing Sweetly to a rag warehouse to make love. But when she bit him on the back of the neck, he fought her off. As soon as he did, she vanished into thin air, only to reappear seconds later as a giant rat up in the rafters. The queen rat called down to him in anger that he may have some good luck, but would ultimately pay for it. The Sweetly family lore goes on to say that Sweetly's first wife died in childbirth, and his second wife was crushed between a barge and the wharf. But ever since then, once a generation, a female Sweetly is born with two different colored eyes, one blue and one gray, the color of the Thames.
I guess the queen rat got her revenge.
So, if crumbling walls of toxic gases didn't kill you, if rat bites and sore pigs didn't get you, and if you didn't mind sifting through human excrement by lantern light in the middle of the night, a Tosher's job really wasn't all that bad.
Well, you already said you'd do it. You just want to meet a queen rat in real life. That's what it is.
Well, I think that I'd rather go dig through human excrement to look for jewelry than go return cans or bottles.
Probably smells about the same. You know, when you go in the little redemption areas and it just always smells. It's so off-putting the way it smells to me.
Yeah, I don't really care for it. And that queen rat, well, she doesn't sound all that scary to me.
No.
She makes passionate love and gives you kisses on the back of the neck or bites you. Either way.
And at least all the other rats will leave you alone.
Yeah.
And you'll have great fortune.
I know.
Sounds like a deal.
There are worse jobs.
Are you sure you're not feverish right now?
I feel like I'm a little sweaty.
Well, on that note, everybody, if you would like to know more about the loneliest houses in the world or more about Toshers, you could always check our sources in our show notes.
Join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Minds Wander.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.